Torah portion for February 22nd, 2025 is entitled Mishpatim, translates to right rulings. It is taken from Exodus chapter 21 through chapter 24, verse 18. The Haftarah portion is Jeremiah chapter 34, verses 8 through 22. Also chapter 33, verses 25 and 26. And from the Brit Hadashah, from the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verses 20 through 30. Exodus 21. These are the right rulings which you are to set before them. When you buy a Hebrew servant, he serves 6 years, and in the 7th he goes out free, for naught. If he comes in by himself, he goes out by himself. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children are her master's, and he goes out by himself. And if the servant truly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, let me not go out free, then his master shall bring him before Elohim, and shall bring him to the door or to the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And when a man sells his daughter to be a female servant, she does not go out as the male servants do. If she is displeasing in the eyes of her master, who has engaged her to himself, then he shall let her be ransomed. He shall have no authority to sell her to a foreign people, because of him deceiving her. And if he has engaged her to his son, he is to do to her as is the right of daughters. If he takes another wife, her food, her covering, and her marriage rights are not to be diminished. And if he does not do these 3 for her, then she shall go out for naught without silver. He who strikes a man so that he dies shall certainly be put to death. But if he did not lie in wait, but Elohim delivered him into his hand, then I shall appoint for you a place where he is to flee. But when a man acts presumptuously against his neighbor, to kill him by treachery, you are to take him even from my altar to die. And he who smites his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death. And he who kidnaps a man and sells him, or if he is found in his hand, shall certainly be put to death. And he who curses his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death. And when men strive together, and one smites the other with a stone or with his fist, and he does not die, but is confined to his bed, if he rises again and walks about outside with his staff, then he who smote him shall be innocent. He only pays for lost time, and sees to it that he is completely healed. And when a man smites his male or female servant with a rod, so that he dies under his hand, he shall certainly be punished. But if he remains alive a day or 2, he is not punished, for he is his property. And when men strive, and they shall smite a pregnant woman, and her children come out, yet there is no injury, he shall certainly be punished accordingly as the woman's husband lays upon him, and he shall give through the judges. But if there is injury, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, lash for lash. And when a man smites the eye of his male or female servant, and destroys it, he is to let him go free for the sake of his eye. And if he knocks out the tooth of his male or female servant, he is to let him go free for the sake of his tooth. And when an ox gores a man or a woman to death, then the ox shall certainly be stoned, and its flesh is not eaten, and the owner of the ox is innocent. However, if the ox was previously in the habit of goring, and its owner has been warned, and he has not kept it confined, so that it has killed a man or a woman, the ox is stoned, and its owner also is put to death. If a sin covering is laid upon him, then he shall give the ransom of his life, whatever is laid on him. Whether it has gored a son or gored a daughter, according to this right ruling, it is done to him. If the ox gores a male or female servant, he is to give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox is stoned. When a man opens a pit, or if a man digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or donkey falls in it, the owner of the pit is to repay. He is to give silver to their owner, and the dead beast is his. And when the ox of a man smite the ox of his neighbor, and it dies, they shall sell the live ox, and divide the silver from it, and also divide the dead ox. Or if it was known that the ox was previously in the habit of goring, and its owner has not kept it confined, he shall certainly repay ox for ox, while the dead beast is his. Exodus 22. When a man steals an ox or a sheep, and shall slaughter it or sell it, he repays 5 cattle for an ox, and 4 sheep for a sheep. If the thief is found breaking in, and he is smitten so that he dies, there is no guilt for his bloodshed. If the sun has risen on him, there is guilt for his bloodshed. He shall certainly repay. If he has not the means, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft is indeed found alive in his hand, whether it is an ox or donkey or sheep, he repays double. When a man lets a field or a vineyard be grazed bare, and lets loose his livestock, and it feeds in another man's field, he repays from the best of his own field, and the best of his own vineyard. When fire breaks out and spreads to thorn bushes, so that stacked grain or standing grain or the field is consumed, he who kindled the fire shall certainly repay. When a man gives silver or goods to his neighbor to guard, and it is stolen out of the man's house, if the thief is found, he repays double. If the thief is not found, then the master of the house shall be brought before Elohim to see whether he has put his hand into his neighbor's goods. For every matter of transgression, for ox, for donkey, for sheep, for garment, or for whatever is lost, which another claims to be his, let the matter of them both come before Elohim, and whomever Elohim declares wrong repays double to his neighbor. When a man gives to his neighbor a donkey, or ox, or sheep, or any beast to watch over, and it dies, or is injured, or is driven away while no one is looking, let an oath of Yehovah be between them both, that he has not put his hand into his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept that, and he does not repay. But if it is indeed stolen from him, he repays to its owner. If it is torn to pieces, then let him bring it for evidence. He does not repay what was torn. And when a man borrows from his neighbor, and it is injured or dies, while the owner is not present, he shall certainly repay. But if its owner was with it, he does not repay. If it was hired, he is entitled to the hire. And when a man entices a maiden who is not engaged and lies with her, he shall certainly pay the bride price for her to be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he pays according to the bride price of maidens. Do not allow a practicer of witchcraft to live. Anyone lying with a beast shall certainly be put to death. He who slaughters to a mighty one, except to Jehovah only, is put under the ban. Do not tread down a sojourner or oppress him, for you were sojourners in the land of Mitzrayim. Do not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you do afflict them at all, if they cry out to me at all, I shall certainly hear their cry. And my wrath shall burn, and I shall slay you with the sword. Your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. If you do lend silver to any of my people, the poor among you, you are not to be like the one that lends on interest to him. Do not lay interest on him. If you take your neighbor's garment as a pledge at all, you are to return it to him before the sun goes down. For that is his only covering. It is his garment for his skin. What does he sleep in? And it shall be that when he cries to me, I shall hear, for I show favor. Do not revile Elohim, nor curse a ruler of your people. Do not delay giving your harvest and your vintage. Give me the firstborn of your sons. Likewise, you are to do with your oxen, with your sheep. It is to be with its mother 7 days. On the 8th day you give it to me. And you are set apart men to me. And you do not eat any meat which is torn to pieces in the field. You throw it to the dogs. Exodus 23. Do not bring a false report. Do not put your hand with the wrong to be a malicious witness. Do not follow a crowd to do evil, nor bear witness in a strife so as to turn aside after many, to turn aside what is right. And do not favor a poor man in his strife. When you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall certainly return it to him. When you see the donkey of him who hates you lying under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall certainly help him. Do not turn aside the right ruling of your poor in his strife. Keep yourself far from a false matter, and do not kill the innocent and the righteous, for I do not declare the wrong right. And do not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the seeing one and twists the words of the righteous. And do not oppress a sojourner, as you yourselves know the heart of a sojourner, because you were sojourners in the land of Mitzrayim. And for 6 years you are to sow your land and gather its increase. But in the 7th year you are to let it rest, and shall leave it, and the poor of your people shall eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field eat. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive yard. 6 days you are to do your work, and on the 7th day you rest, in order that your ox and your donkey might rest, and the son of your female servant and the sojourner be refreshed. And in all that I have said to you, take heed, and make no mention of the name of other mighty ones, let it not be heard from your mouth. 3 times in the year you are to observe a festival to me. Guard the festival of unleavened bread. 7 days you eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you, at the time appointed in the month of Abib. For in it you came out of Mitzrayim, and do not appear before me empty-handed. And the festival of the harvest, the first fruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the festival of the ingathering, at the outgoing of the year, when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. 3 times in the year all your males are to appear before the Master, Yahovah. Do not offer the blood of my slaughtering with leavened bread, and the fat of my offering shall not remain until morning. Bring the first of the first fruits of your land into the house of Yahovah your Elohim. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. See, I am sending a messenger before you to guard you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be on guard before him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he is not going to pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. But if you diligently obey his voice, and shall do all that I speak, then I shall be an enemy to your enemies, and a distresser to those who distress you. For my messenger shall go before you, and shall bring you in to the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I shall cut them off. Do not bow down to their mighty ones, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but without fail overthrow them, and without fail break down their pillars. And you shall serve Yahovah your Elohim, and he shall bless your bread and your water, and I shall remove sickness from your midst. None shall miscarry or be barren in your land. I shall fill the number of your days. I shall send my fear before you, and cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I shall send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite before you. I shall not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become a waste, and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little I shall drive them out from before you, until you have increased, and you inherit the land. And I shall set your border from the Sea of Reeds to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the river. For I shall give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them, nor their mighty ones. Let them not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me, when you serve their mighty ones, when it becomes a snare to you. Exodus 24. And to Moshe he said, Come up to Yahovah, you and Aharon, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and you shall bow yourselves from a distance. But Moshe shall draw near to Yahovah by himself, and let them not draw near, nor let the people go up with him. And Moshe came and related to all the people the words of Yahovah, and all the right rulings. And all the people answered with one voice and said, All the words which Yahovah has spoken, we shall do. And Moshe wrote down all the words of Yahovah, and rose up early in the morning, and built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and 12 standing columns for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, and they offered burnt offerings and slaughtered peace slaughterings of bulls to Jehovah. And Moshe took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the hearing of the people. And they said, all that Jehovah has spoken we shall do and obey. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, see the blood of the covenant which Jehovah has made with you concerning all these words. And Moshe went up, also Aharon, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And when they saw the Elohim of Israel, and under his feet like a paved work of sapphire stone, and like the heavens for brightness. Yet he did not stretch out his hand against the chiefs of the children of Israel. And they saw Elohim, and they ate and drank. And Jehovah said to Moshe, come up to me on the mountain and be there, while I give you tablets of stone, and the Torah and the command which I have written, to teach them. And Moshe arose with his assistant Yehoshua, and Moshe went up to the mountain of Elohim. And he said to the elders, wait here for us until we come back to you. And see, Aharon and Hur are with you. Whoever has matters, let him go to them. And Moshe went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. And the esteem of Jehovah dwelt on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. And on the 7th day he called out to Moshe out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the esteem of Jehovah was like a consuming fire on top of the mountain, before the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud, and went up into the mountain. And it came to be that Moshe was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Jeremiah 34, verses 8 through 22. The word which came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah after sovereign Sidkiyahu had made a covenant with all the people who were at Jerusalem to proclaim release to them, that everyone was to set free his male and female slave, the Hebrew man and the Hebrew woman. No one was to keep a Yehudite, his brother, enslaved. And when all the heads and all the people who had come into the covenant heard that each one was to set free his male and female slaves, and not keep them enslaved any longer, they obeyed and released them. But afterward they changed their minds and made the male and female slaves return, whom they had set free, and brought them into subjection as male and female slaves. Therefore the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah, saying, thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel, I myself made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage, saying, at the end of 7 years each one should set free his Hebrew brother, who has been sold to him. And when he has served you 6 years, you shall let him go free from you. But your fathers did not obey me, nor incline their ear. And you recently turned and did what was right in my eyes, each man proclaiming release to his neighbor. And you made a covenant before me in the house which is called by my name. But you turned back and profaned my name, and each one of you took back his male and female slaves, whom he had set free at their pleasure, and brought them into subjection to be your male and female slaves. Therefore, thus said Yahovah, you have not obeyed me in proclaiming release, each one to his brother and each one to his neighbor. See, I am proclaiming release to you, declares Yahovah, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the scarcity of food. And I shall make you a horror to all reigns of the earth. And I shall give the men who are transgressing my covenant, who have not established the words of the covenant which they made before me, when they cut the calf in two, and passed between the parts of it, the heads of Yehuda, and the heads of Jerusalem, the eunuchs and the priests, and all the people of the land who passed between the parts of the calf. And I shall give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their life. And their corpses shall be food to the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the earth. And I shall give Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, and his heads into the hands of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their life, and into the hand of the sovereign of Babel's army that has withdrawn from you. See, I am commanding, declares Yahovah, and shall bring them back into this city, and they shall fight against it, and take it, and burn it with fire. And I shall make the cities of Yehuda a ruin without inhabitant. Jeremiah 33, verses 25 and 26. Thus said Yahovah, if my covenant is not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the laws of the heavens and earth, then I would also reject the descendants of Jacob and David my servant, so that I should not take of his descendants to be rulers over the descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. For I shall turn back their captivity and have compassion on them. Matthew 26, verses 20 through 30. And when evening came, he sat down with the 12. And while they were eating, he said, truly, I say to you, one of you shall deliver me up. And they were deeply grieved, and began to say to him, each of them, Master, is it I? And he answering said, he who has dipped his hand with me in the dish, he shall deliver me up. Indeed, the son of Adam goes, as it has been written concerning him. But woe to that man by whom the son of Adam is delivered up. It would have been good for that man if he had not been born. And Yehuda, he who delivered him up, answered, said, Rabbi, is it I? He said to him, you have said it. And as they were eating, Yeshua took bread, and having blessed, broke, and gave it to the taught ones, and said, take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup, and giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you. For this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many for the forgiveness of sins. But I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on, till that day when I drink it anew with you in the reign of my Father. And having sung a song, they went out to the Mount of Olives.